will be giving his icebreaker speech, 4 to 6 minutes. I'll paraphrase him. Why am I so great? No.
Well, before I start, Karen, this is not my second language. It's my third language, so please be gentle. Madam President, Mrs. Toastmaster, fellow member, and guests. I'll tell you today why I decided to join the U.S. Army as an American soldier. First of all, I'm from Vietnam. I lived there until I was 13 years old. As you remember from the Vietnam War, my dad was in the South Vietnamese Army. That was the Democratic Vietnam that was supported by the American, and there's the North Vietnamese that was supported by the Communist North Vietnamese that was supported by the Soviet Union and the Chinese. So after the war, after the American pullout in 1973, the North Vietnam swept down south, and by April 30th, 1975, they taken all over the whole country. And what they did was they rounded up all the personnel that had anything to do with the South Vietnamese government or the American, and put them in their re-education camps. And unfortunately, my dad was one of those guys got rounded up and put him in a hard labor, communist indoctrination program. And so he was there for quite a few years. During that time, they moved the family down south to by the Mekong Delta. They call it the new economic zone, where they force us to be farmers and grow rice and potatoes and whatever. But my dad was finally released, and he caught up with the family. Again, he was still tracked. They forced him, every month report to the communist headquarters, tell him where he was and all that stuff. And life was really hard. The farmland was unfertile. We didn't have enough to eat, so we said, hey, we got to get out of here. We can't live under these conditions. So my dad had a friend that had a fishing boat, and there's limited spot on his fishing boat, so he decided to take me and then my sister, leaving my mom and 2 sisters behind. So one night we slipped out, got onto the boat and went off into the ocean. I remember we got chased by the communist Vietnamese, and they fired a shot at us. We finally lost them in a storm. And 2 weeks later, floating in the ocean, we ran out of food and water. I remember, everybody was crying and just laying on, just being sick all total. We finally we ran into a Malaysian fishing boat. They boarded the boat that we had, and we gave them all our valuables, jewelry, gold and watches, whatever that the people brought. And so they agreed to take all that and pull us onto an island. We landed on the island in Malaysia. Luckily, my dad still had all his credentials when he was working with the American Special Forces. So they contacted the American Embassy, say, hey, you might want to give this guy a political refugee status. So we stayed on a refugee camp in Malaysia for 6 months, waiting to get approved for refugee status. And from there, we moved on to the Philippines and stayed in another refugee camp there. Finally, the news came that we got permission to come to the United States. We got sponsored by a group, Sunday school church group of the First Baptist Church of Burlington, North Carolina. So they brought us in, found my dad a job. Somebody donated a used car that, so my dad can get back and forth to work. So I started school, my sister started school, and finally we tried to get my mom over here. Finally my dad saved enough money to sponsor them over here. So 8 years later, in 1992, the rest of my family got here. And unfortunately, 3 years later, from all the disease that my dad contracted when he was in the camp, he passed away. But he finally got his family together. And that was when I was a sophomore in college. So he didn't see me graduate from college or anything like that. So to give back to a country that given us a new life, a new opportunity, that's why I decided to join the Army, to give back to the U.S. This is Coach Smith.